Hello everybody and welcome to the Full 90. First video, let's get started. I want to say a massive thank you for 500 subscribers on the channel. Trust me, it's going to be insane. I've got lots of videos planned, Premier League predictions, Champions League predictions, Nations League predictions, and more. So if you haven't already and you are new to this channel, then click the subscribe button down below and the little notification bell to be notified when I upload a video. If you want to be featured in next week's video, then just drop your 10 Premier League predictions down in the comments. Let me know if you agree with what I'm going to say or if you disagree, and I'll be picking one of you every single week to be featured in the next week's video. Going into the future, I will be reacting to my previous week's reactions in the next week's reactions before I get into that, just to see how I did and see if I'm getting any better at predicting the outcomes. I did predict last week's games, but I didn't actually record the video because I hadn't made the channel yet. But I will tell you, I correctly predicted 4 out of the 10 scores and 9 out of the 10 results for last week's Premier League. Obviously, the West Ham Everton upset was the one that I got wrong, and I correctly predicted the scores for the Man United game, the Arsenal game, the Crystal Palace game, what was the other one? And the Tottenham Liverpool game. I predicted that one as well. So you've got that all out the way. You've left a like on the video. You've subscribed. You've turned on the bell. Every single video, I won't have this much admin at the beginning. But I just want to say once again, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting the channel. Let's get on to week 6 of the Premier League. Starting with Fulham versus Watford. This is a tough one. As well as my score prediction, I might go in depth into more things I think might happen in the game, such as whether I think both teams are going to score, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, Fulham have a decent squad, and you'd expect them to do better than they have done at the start of the season. They've really been struggling. Watford, on the other hand, no one predicted that they'd have the start that they had. So on paper, at the start of the season, you might have gone for a home win for Fulham, maybe 2-0, 2-1, or something like that. Now, I don't think Fulham's poor form and Watford's good form has changed that result in my head dramatically, although instead of maybe a 2-1 Fulham win, I'm swapping it up and going a 2-1 win for Watford away from home. Because Fulham can score, they've got decent players, but they are weak defensively. They've conceded 2 goals in all of their last 5 games, and obviously Watford are banging them in, so I definitely think there's going to be goals in this game. As well as that, Watford also are prone to letting in a couple, so I think it's going to be a 2-1 win to Watford to start out the week. Moving on, we've got Burnley versus Bournemouth. Now, a lot of people figured that Burnley wouldn't do as well this season as they did last season. Obviously, last year they were very clinical with the 1-0 wins and stuff like that, but this season they've been terrible. To be honest, Joe Hart he's done quite well for them in my opinion. I think some of the results that they've had could have been a lot worse had it not been for Joe Hart in goal. Say what you want about that. And Bournemouth are decent. They are good on the attack. They've always been a threat on the attack. For the past couple of years, they've been surprising to most people, and that is why I'm going for another 2-1 to Bournemouth away from home. Burnley have been struggling to get goals, but I think the fact that they are at home, they're against Bournemouth, who they're not bad at all, but they're not like a top team. I think they'll be able to score at least 1, but I can't look past Bournemouth's form, so I definitely think Bournemouth are going to win with a 2-1, possibly more, but 2-1 is going to be my guess. The next game is Cardiff versus Man City. Now, Man City are hard to predict because for the most part, you get the result right, but you don't know how many they're going to score, how many they're going to concede, and despite Cardiff scoring against Chelsea in the last week and City losing to Lyon in the Champions League 2-1, I just still think it'll be a routine win for Man City, and I don't think Cardiff are going to score, which is why I'm going for a 3-0 win to Manchester City. Crystal Palace versus Newcastle, that is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, Crystal Palace, they need Wilfried Zaha to be playing to have a better chance of winning. I think there's a statistic that I heard that said for the last 10 games that Wilfried Zaha hasn't played, Crystal Palace have lost every single one. And if that's not a one-man show, then I don't know what is. I was originally going to put 2-0 to Palace at home because Newcastle have also been struggling this season. However, my final result is another 2-1er, Crystal Palace 2, Newcastle 1, because Newcastle are capable of just bagging that 1 goal. They've already scored, despite losing each game, they've already scored against Tottenham, Chelsea, Man City, and Arsenal this season. So they can score goals, but they just concede too many as well. This one could be a draw. It could be a convincing Palace win, but I'm going to put 2 to Crystal Palace and 1 to Newcastle. Newcastle being able to get that goal that they always seem to get, but as always, not being able to get the win. The next game is Leicester versus Huddersfield. Now, Huddersfield haven't won any of their last 9 matches, and they have a terrible record away from home. And although Leicester have been unpredictable this season, obviously losing 4-2 to Bournemouth in that goal marathon last week, I still think they're going to walk away with the 3 points here, and it's going to be not easy for them, but it should be a comfortable enough win, which is why I'm going 2-0 to Leicester City. A lot of people predicted Cardiff and Huddersfield to finish bottom of the table, and I think the first 5 weeks of the Premier League have cemented that in people's heads. I definitely think that Cardiff and Huddersfield are going to get relegated. It'll just be a battle to see who stays up and who finishes in that final 18th spot. The next game is Liverpool versus Southampton. Obviously, Liverpool are smashing it in the Premier League. They beat Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. They are unstoppable. They're insane. I was tempted to go for both teams to score, perhaps a Liverpool 3-1, but given Liverpool's form, I'm going for the 3-0 win. As well as that, Liverpool haven't conceded at Anfield in the Premier League since their 4-1 defeat against West Ham in February. Okay, so that is insane. It's been 7 months since they conceded a goal at Anfield in the Premier League, and even then, that was a 4-1 win. So no one's really going to care about that one goal. It might be a 2-0, it might even be a 1-0. I just don't think Southampton are going to score, and I think Liverpool are going to continue their form. I'm excited to see how Liverpool play against Chelsea and Man City in the upcoming weeks. I think that will really shape the rest of the season, how the next month goes. Manchester United versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, Wolves, as expected, have had a decent start to the Premier League. They've got a very good squad, especially for someone newly promoted from the Championship. Although after the shaky start United have, especially, you know, losing to Brighton early on, I think they're starting to find themselves a little bit, and I can't see past a Man United win at home here. United obviously got their much-needed win at Watford last week, and then they comfortably beat Swiss champions Young Boys in the Champions League 3-0. So I think Wolves will get a goal because they're strong on the attack. I just think Man United's attack is a little bit better, and I think they're going to walk away with the 2-1 win and 3 points. Coming up next, we have Brighton versus Tottenham. Now, Brighton are a little bit of a dark horse at home. They're difficult to beat, but although Tottenham have had a shaky few moments in the last week or two, losing 3 of their last games on the bounce, I still think Tottenham are going to win this game, and I'm struggling to see Brighton scoring at all. Brighton came back from 2-0 down against Southampton and then came back from 2-0 down again the week before that, I'm pretty sure. So they've definitely got spirit, but I think Tottenham are just that level of class above them, and they should be able to tie Brighton down and bag a few goals as well. Maybe Harry Kane will start finding the form that he had last season. I don't know. Maybe that won't happen. Maybe Brighton will upset them. But realistically, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Tottenham win. Moving on to Super Sunday, we have West Ham Chelsea. Now, if this game was last week, you'd probably say 6-7-0 to Chelsea. You know, West Ham they had terrible form, but they showed us in the Everton game that they are a decent enough side. I think they just had a few things to patch up at the start of the season. I definitely think that they're going to move up the table as the season progresses, as they show that they are able to hold their own in the Premier League, as they always have done. However, you can't look past Chelsea. Anyone else, this might have been a different game, you know, if West Ham were playing Wolves, Bournemouth, even the likes of Arsenal maybe, you might see a closer game, but Chelsea have just been electric this year, and that is why I'm going for a 3-1 win to Chelsea away from home. So yeah, I do think West Ham are going to score. They're strong in the attack. They'll have the home support behind them, but Chelsea are a unit, and they are a force to be reckoned with, which is why I'm going 3-1 to Chelsea. The final game, Arsenal versus Everton. Here we go. Arsenal had a tough start to the season, losing to Man City 2-0, and they were, I guess you could say, unlucky to get anything out of the 3-2 loss to Chelsea, but since then, they've won all of their games, but they are a little bit leaky in defence. They do concede goals. Everton, however, have been struggling for a win. They've drawn a lot of games, and obviously they'll be trying to recover from their 3-1 shock defeat to West Ham. So obviously I think Arsenal are going to win with the home advantage, but I think both teams will score. I was tempted to put 2-0 Arsenal, 3-0 Arsenal, but yeah, I think Everton are going to bag one here. It would be kind of funny if it was Theo Walcott against Arsenal, his own club, but I just definitely think Arsenal are going to win this. It should be comfortable, but you never know. It could be close. We could be surprised with a draw, but my final score prediction is going to be 3-1 to Arsenal. And Everton have only won 3 of their last 29 away matches. So that's crazy. I definitely don't see Everton winning this, but I think Arsenal are going to win comfortably enough. So to recap my predictions, I think Watford are going to win 2-1, Bournemouth are going to win 2-1, Man City are going to win 3-0, Palace 2-1, that's the one I'm not entirely sure on, Leicester 2-0 against Huddersfield, Liverpool 3-0, Man United 2-1, Tottenham 2-0, and then Arsenal and Chelsea both to win 3-1 on the Sunday. That is going to do it for the first video on the full 90. If you liked what you saw, then be sure to leave a like on it. There's so many more videos coming. Hopefully some in real life football challenges. You never know. Let me know, obviously, down in the comments your prediction for all 10 games. I'm so excited to read them and interested to see what another person thinks. And I'll be picking one of you guys and featuring you in the next Premier League predictions video, which will be out next week. That is going to do it for this video. And yeah, and I'll see you in the next one. very soon.